Today, I just wanted to share a couple of tips and some things that you guys should know if you're relocating or PCSing to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. If you're new here, my name is Justin. I'm a local realtor here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And if you are PCSing or relocating to Fort Bragg, I would be more than happy to help you guys out. I help people relocate here all the time, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for me. The first thing that I wanted to go over is that Zillow and Trulia, Realtor.com, they do not know Fort Bragg, okay? They don't really show you what the neighborhood and what's really going on in that area. So the reason that I bring this up is that Fayetteville, it is one of those places where it can be, a really nice neighborhood, and then like right behind it, there are railroad tracks. But also it'd be like a really nice neighborhood, and then right across the street from that neighborhood, it'll be a trailer park. Not that I'm saying anything is wrong with trailer parks, but some people like to avoid those areas. So Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia, all those online listing places, they don't show you what that area is actually like or that neighborhood is like. So it's good to get a good grasp on what the area is, not only in your neighborhood, but around your neighborhood. The second thing that I think is important is that you should understand what the flood zones are. So good thing about Fort Bragg and really the surrounding cities is that there's not a whole lot of flooding issues, and there's not a whole lot of properties that have flood insurance or that are required to carry flood insurance. But there are still homes here who do fall in the flood plains. So if you're unfamiliar with where those homes are, or if you're unfamiliar on how to look that stuff up, now your realtor should be helping you out with that stuff, or your lender. These are all things that they should be addressing prior to that. But it's something that you should definitely keep your eye out for, because flood insurance ain't cheap. Flood insurance ain't cheap at all. What I see here all the time is that realtors don't put that in the actual description for everybody to see. They put it in what we call our agent remarks. So only other realtors or whoever is on the MLS, only they are allowed to see this subtext underneath that, and that's usually where they disclose it, like, hey, this is in a flood zone, or hey, there is a hole in the roof and we're actively getting it repaired right now. So these are things that you should definitely be just taking into consideration. Make sure you get a good grasp on the home, the area, and the floodplain as well. The third thing that I think is important that we address is that you should understand what your needs and your wants are. For example, I've helped people relocate here, and they've made it an absolute point that they need a bonus room. They need a bonus room. The guy wants the man cave. I completely get it. They want a bonus room so that he can have his man cave, a movie room. Him and all of his buddies can go up there and drink. I completely get it. But there's also been people who say, I want a completely fenced-in yard, and I want it to be a privacy fence, or absolutely no carpet in my house. Whatever it is, okay? Now, if you're on a tight budget and there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room for you, I don't think that you should be letting these kinds of things limit you and your buying power. Because if it has carpets in the bedroom or something, but it checks all the other boxes, if it has that bonus room and a privacy fence, I don't think that you should be letting things like that limit you, Really take that gauge for yourself, though. I completely understand. Look, I work for you. If you really don't want carpets anywhere in the house, I completely get it, okay? But sometimes there's a little bit of give and take that you got to give, okay? Especially in some markets. Now, in today's market, with the number of, it's a national shortage of just homes on the market. So if it's really important, like if this home really checks all the other boxes, but it has this carpet in there, look, we should still at least go in there and take a look at it, and then maybe we could still ask the seller to replace the floors. There's wiggle room, there's some give and take, you just got to be flexible, and I think that's really important when you're house hunting here. Another thing that I think is important that we go over is you need to understand what your BAH can support and what the BAH rates are here. So I have a video, I'll link it in the description, or I'll link it at the end of this video, of all the BAH rates in Fort Bragg, and it goes from all the officer ranks, all the enlisted ranks, and it even covers all the warrant officer ranks. But basically, I based off all those. I just used like the most average. I just used average stuff. So like the average interest rate, 6.5%. That's typically what I'm seeing for VA loans here. I just use the average BAH for, like, let's say an E6 with dependents. That's what I'm basing it off of. Or if you're using a 30-year fixed rate loan, a VA loan, I also base it off of that. I use the average property taxes in Fayetteville, no HOA fees, all that stuff. I'll link it in the description for you guys to take a look at. But you should understand what it is, because it's different compared to like Fort Carson or like Fort Cavazos, Fort Hood. But just for rough numbers, let's say the average O2 or E6, E5, you're looking anywhere from $250,000 up, and probably like around $300,000. That's just using your BAH, and if you were to throw all of your BAH towards just your mortgage payment, not including utilities and all that stuff, okay? $250,000 to $300,000 is probably your price range. That's just using your BAH. That's not including any spousal income or any side hustles or anything like that. So your buying power, it really does vary, and you're pretty flexible with VA. That's why VA loans have so much power in this market, because we see it all the time. However, if your max buying power with BAH, your spouse's income, and everything put together, right? If your max purchasing budget is, let's say, $350,000 or $400,000, that does not mean that we need to be looking at $350,000 houses or $400,000 houses, right? Even though you can afford it, are you comfortable paying that mortgage with your interest rate and all that stuff? Are you comfortable with that? Because if you are, then cool. Hey, let's keep going. But if not, let's look lower. But it comes at a cost. A $350,000 home compared to a $300,000 home, they're different. There's obviously going to be that price gap difference, and it's going to show in the property. The last and final thing that I wanted to go over is that you can basically get your pick of what house and area you want, because there is basically everything that you that you can look for. If it's not in Fayetteville, it's going to be in Hope Mills. Or if it's not in Fayetteville or Hope Mills, it's probably in Rayford. If it's not in any of those, maybe we should look at Southern Pines. Each city is just a little bit different when it comes to price range, safety, school rating, all that stuff. So whichever is most important to you, or commute time, each city has their own benefit, but also their own cost to each of them. So you really get your own pick. Now, Fayetteville, Hope Mills, and some of the other neighboring cities, I would say the average price point for Fayetteville, Hope Mills, Eastover, you're probably looking anywhere from $250,000 up to $275,000 right now. But if you're looking up and that would get you a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, probably 1,500 square foot. Now, out in Southern Pines, for example, $250,000 or $275,000, that would probably get you a 1,000 to 1,100 square foot townhouse with a 1-car garage. It'll be new construction as well, but that's just typically what I'm seeing, okay? If you are PCSing or relocating to the area, head over to my channel. I have playlists where I do neighborhood tours, I do home tours, I break down and I give you all the facts and all the need to knows about the surrounding cities and neighborhoods. So just reach out. I'm sure there's a video there for you, and I look forward to see you guys in the next one.